Memorize. My pranams to all divine light of the self, Atmajyothis. We have about 1.5 hours. We can, whichever way you want to spend the time, you can do that. If you have some questions, I can start answering the questions. Then I can speak something, then you can ask the questions. Then we'll close with the meditation. That's all. Right? What do you want? You want to ask questions? Speak and then. Okay. So today is Easter, celebrated as Easter in many parts of the world. Let us contemplate the spiritual meaning of Easter. What is spiritual meaning of Easter? What is this Easter all about? Everybody has a way of looking at things. Okay, the perspective. Right? A woman looks at the world, she brings in women's perspective. A man looks at the world, he brings the man's perspective. A rich man looks at the world, he brings the rich man's perspective. So each person looks at the world in a different perspective. Right? The perspective will change. How we who come from Sanatana Dharma, the most ancient tradition of the world, look at different religions, different cultures. What is the perspective we bring in? Is this my topic? The tradition of Sanatana Dharma looks at everything as divine manifestation. For us, everything becomes sacred. The mountain, the river, the valley, the trees, the plants, everything is a manifestation of sacred and divine. So when we look at a different culture, how do we look at it? If you look at Easter as a festival, how do we look at it from the perspective of Sanatana Dharma? Is I'm going to talk. Okay. Whereas different people may look at our culture as a different way, but we look at how a different culture is what I'm going to speak on. Easter is associated with eggs. Some decorated eggs. I don't know what else they do in the after that eggs. Eggs. It's eggs. This eggs, association of eggs with Easter goes much before Christ. It's one of the traditions which have been followed worldwide. The egg is used as a part of the celebration of Easter. After Christianity became prominent, it got associated with Christ. But that celebration of the Easter with the egg was there much before. What does the egg represent? The egg represents the embryo. A chicken which is yet to be born. Something yet to be born. Something in the infancy. Something in the embryonic state is egg. The Easter celebrates something which is in embryonic stage. Something is ready for breaking that egg and opening up. It is a celebration of the spring season. During the winter, all the trees have shed their leaves, flowers, and they become barren, symbolizing practically a sort of mini death of a tree, mini death of a nature. With the spring, the life is born. The Easter is a celebration of a new life is yet to be born, a embryonic life. That's why egg. in Sanatana Dharma, we have a tradition. The universe, before being born, it took the shape of an egg. It's called Brahmanda. Anda means egg. Okay. From that egg, with the sound of explosion called Omkara, there was a birth of this, what you see, manifesting universal. The Big Bang was accompanied by the sound of Omkara. And the Big Bang was breaking of the Anda, of the egg, and manifesting in the world. So the egg represents birth of something, birth of new life, birth of a new season in many cultures. Okay. As the Christianity became a prominent religion, Christianity assimilated some of the existing traditions and associated with the Christian theology or symbolism. Now, what is associated with the Christian theology or symbolism is the resurrection or the birth of the Christ or resurrection of the Christ. The Christ was crucified on Good Friday. His body was kept in a cave. On the day of Easter, he appeared in front of some of his close associates. That is actually associated with Easter. Again, you see here the symbolic relationship, the death and the birth. This death and birth and associated with the spring season has been there for a long time, many places. Easter symbolizes that. Now let us look at the Christ's resurrection itself as how we view it. In India, we have maintained from time immemorial that death of the body is not death of the soul. The soul is immortal and eternal. We go through many lifetimes, changing the bodies, the soul goes through, but the soul itself is eternal, immortal. Each of us take many births. The first birth for us is birth from the biological mother. It's called the first birth. The second birth happens to us when the spiritual teaching of the master is given. Okay. What is the spiritual teaching of the master? That you are not the body, you are not the mind, you are not the intellect, you are pure spirit, using the body, mind, and intellect. Then we get a second birth. The first birth is from the birth of the mother, birth from the mother's womb. Second birth is birth from the master's womb. Naturally, each birth is accompanied with some death also. Without death, birth cannot happen. When you are born first time, you are born into a human body and you identify with the human body. When you are born from the master's teaching, a death happens. That death is that you no longer start identifying with the body. So that means there is a death already. But then associated with that, there is a rebirth. That yes, oh, I'm not a body, I'm a spirit soul. Then there is, you are born into a spiritual world with the teachings of the master. That's where first death, and second birth. That's called Dvija in Sanskrit, twice born. Then very few people have the fortune of taking the third, what is the second death, and the born birth into immortal life. And all this happens in this lifetime, not in some other lifetime. The first death happened, first birth was birth into a body. The second birth is birth into spirit. And the third birth is enlightenment or mukti or liberation. When, as a spirit, Atma, individual self, you are no longer an isolated individual self, but you are a part of the universal consciousness. So, the third death is death of the individuality and birth of the immortality. That is called Jivan Mukti. So, you have a possibility of two deaths in a human lifetime. First death is death of the flesh and birth into the spirit. The second death is death of the individuality and birth of the universality. And this happens in a given lifetime, not in many lifetimes. So this is the privilege of a human being, to drop something which is a baggage and to be born fresh. And this is what you call, Sanatana Dharma says, the real goal of life, called moksha or liberation. So, with the two deaths accompanying, it's not death in the sense of the colloquial language. You are born into the immortality. That's called moksha. So, first death is physical in nature. When Guru teaches you are not a body, mind, and intellect. The second death is psychological in nature. When you understand that you are not an individual, you are a universal. The physical and psychological are two deaths, and there is a resurrection which happens. Resurrection into a new life. Christ speaks of this many times. His name was not Christ. His name was Jesus. He was born to Mary and Joseph, the carpenter. The first name given to him is Jesus. Then he was baptized by John, which is about the equivalent of teaching. Then he was born into the spiritual world. Then he went through a severe disturbance, what they call as dark night of the soul. A lot of temptations, the hidden unconscious impressions coming out. And he was born in the kingdom of God, called Son of God. So, the first birth of all of us is the birth into the flesh. Then we become son of man. But the possibility in us is that before we die physically, we can be born as son of God. That transition can take place. When we are born as son of man, flesh, we identify ourselves and others as human beings or flesh. Right? So I identify you as a body and a being. The human and being is identified through a body. But when the teaching of the master takes place, when the wisdom is done, the human part drops and being part becomes more, the Atma. So you recognize people and everybody as a being, not just a human being with a body. Then the being becomes a part of the universal being, Atma, becomes a Paramatma, one with the Paramatma. The sense of identification, I, the small I, drops into a larger I, the infinite ocean of consciousness. Jivatma becomes one with Paramatma. So that is called Mukti or enlightenment. So then you become son of God. Son of man is how we come into the world. Son of God is how we can exit from the world, a possibility. If you don't exit from the world as son of God, you have the possibility of becoming son of man again and again, many lifetimes, because of the impressions you carry. This is what is the teaching of Sanatana Dharma. This is possibly a mythological representation of resurrection of the Christ. Each of us have a divine potential which are represented through embryonic egg. It is like cocoon. The crawling insect builds a shell around itself, cocoon, and one fine day it breaks that shell and is born as a butterfly, which has a totally different way of life, different way of living, and different possibilities. So that is what is symbolism of Easter. That is the symbolism of the resurrection of Christ. Before resurrection, there's a crucifixion. What they say is each person has to carry his cross. Christ crucified him, sacrificed himself for the humanity. He carried his cross. And so also we. When you say we, the crucifixion or the carrying of the cross symbolizes the karmic baggage which we carry from many lifetimes. When you stop the identification of the body and mind, you are sacrificing, or the body gets offered on the cross. Then what remains is your inner self. That is what is called resurrection. So in a mythological terminology, in a spiritual terminology, resurrection represents the birth of higher consciousness, birth into a higher life, birth into infinite consciousness. This concept of birth and death is not very new for yogis. Okay, it is from the yogic perspective. We understand that as a person enters into a meditative stage, a deeper stage of meditation, he may drop off his body. Okay, that happened to Sri Ramana Maharshi. At the age of 18, he started contemplating on what is the meaning of death. So he said, I want to experience death. He started meditating on death. Suddenly his body became stiff. Okay. the consciousness receded from the body, but he was very alive and conscious as self Atma. Suddenly, the fear of death dropped from Ramana Maharshi's life. The second time it happened, he was in Arunachala. He went through death experience. Body completely became rigid and dead. But the consciousness remained. The consciousness is Atma. So the body and mind are a vehicle of the self, the consciousness. So the realization of that can happen when the body goes through certain yogic practices. So this is actually what we call as samadhi. And what wisdom you gain in the process of samadhi is called enlightenment or liberation. It's not necessary that everybody has to go through samadhi or to get enlightenment. A simple process of that can happen through meditative practices. When the mind becomes deeply silent, then you experience oneness with that higher consciousness, the supreme reality, the totality, and you can understand that I am not a body, I am not a mind, I am not an intellect, I am pure consciousness, one with the supreme reality, one with God. So that is a possibility. Systematically cultivating that through practices is called yoga. Yoga is a science. Where there is no yoga as a science, it becomes accident. It happens to somebody. Okay. So in India, we produce hundreds and thousands of enlightened beings through a process of systematic understanding of this whole process of consciousness, and many of them became very elevated souls, enlightened beings. So this is the tradition. This is how I look at Eastern. Any questions?
So when the first death happens, second birth happens, is that this what we get in second birth? Is that a permanent state, or a state that one can go from to first birth and then come back?
Yeah. So what happens? I spoke of two stages of death: the physical and the psychological. Right? And accompanied by that, the final birth. So what happens is that the first level teaching is that you are not a body. Now, the teaching will take time to sink in. It won't happen one day, right? Because you have so much of baggage already. The mind is already programmed. Okay, it has baggage. So suddenly you will not get adjusted to that new status very quickly. It takes some time, right? This happens to many situations in life. So there's a boy, there's a girl, and one day they are saying you are married, you are husband and wife. The pronouncement is made. Then they have to learn how to live together as husband and wife. Sometimes it will happen in a couple of days, sometimes it happen in 25 years, and after that also they will be, still have two individuals. Alright. So it will take time for us to get adjusted to that new perspective, new reality of life. But some of the people will quickly slip into that new reality very quickly. Some people will take settling time. Okay, that's first. Then second death and second birth, which is actually first time. That's when Guru gives a teaching that you are not a body, mind, and intellect. You are consciousness. But the sense of identity, I am something, the self ego will still remain. The residue will remain. It doesn't go that easily. So when that gets dropped, the okay, that gets dropped is not, it's not a accident. What happens is the meditation process, in the process of meditation, suddenly you start sometimes feeling total dropping of the ego. But again, you come back from meditation, again, same thing will come back. But now what happened is that it has lost its hold. It has become weakened. Not that it is completely gone. Then one fine day will come, a stage will come, where there's a very, very clear understanding or teaching what this ego is all about. It's a shadow, there's no reality. When that happens, that ego gets completely burnt. And after that, there's no way you can come back. Till that point of time, it's a process of learning, going up, coming down. But it's not that you'll fall back completely. Always there's a process of exploration and learning and learning and learning. Is it clear? So, but then finally a stage will come when there's no return. That's called enlightenment. Mukti, Jivan Mukti.
I heard about this story because when Sadhu get enlightened, and then when he was old, he got attached to a dog. So much attached that, and in the next birth he was born.
So that he was not enlightened actually. It's not enlightened. It's not enlightened. That's what I'm saying. He was in one of these first stages. Just because somebody becomes a sadhu doesn't mean that he becomes enlightened.
Yeah.
Okay. Understand? So sadhu is a way of life. Okay. We have a different way of life. There's a grahastha way of life. Okay. There's a hippie way of life. Okay. There's a wanderer way of life. Right? Sadhu is one way of life. But a person becoming sadhu doesn't automatically qualify him to be enlightened. Okay, he is still learning his self. Only difference is he is a full-time practitioner, whereas some of you are part-time. There's a difference between part-time MBA and full-time MBA. Equal to that. Okay, so he has a full-time dedication, whereas you are part-time. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter actually. Sadhu is a way of life. When he got attached to dog, it doesn't mean that he was enlightened. He was in one of these first two stages, somewhere in between. If somebody becomes really enlightened, there's no attachment left, but there will be pure love. There's a very difference between a lot of difference between love and attachment. Okay, love is overpowering. Love has no expectation. Love doesn't hurt, but attachment hurts. Love doesn't expect anything in return. Love knows how to give. Attachment knows how to get back something. So when you say he got attached, it's the second part, not the first part, which means he was not enlightened. He may have knowledge, but not the wisdom.
Guruji, some people we were seeing, suddenly they get enlightened, they say. Is it an accident or they must have gone through some process, right?
Yeah, see, the thing is, when somebody got enlightened, when they say, see, the enlightenment, there's no certification which nobody gives. No university gives a certificate that this person is enlightened. Okay? Nobody can come and say that you are enlightened. Because see, enlightenment is an inner state. Enlightenment is not an external symptom. Now there are no qualifications for how the enlightened being looks like. Okay, even though we have mental images, right, of an enlightened being. Some people will see the flashy lights coming from the head. Okay, that too should be circular, not. Okay, some people may say that if you touch that fellow, you get electric shock. Or some people may say, no, he has to have 1.5 feet beard, long beard, because 1 feet long beard will not qualify him for enlightenment. Okay, some people may say that he has eyes which are penetrating, Okay, probably it requires a contact lens. I don't know what it means. So we have all what I mean is a manufactured concept of enlightenment. Okay, a enlightened person is simply peaceful and silent. Okay, for all you know, you may have an enlightened person in your neighborhood, in your family. You may never come to know. Enlightened persons never show themselves out unless they have a purpose to teach somebody. Some of them are very silent and peaceful. Okay, the internal silencing which happens, a deeper silence, a peace which is there, is called enlightenment. But when we hear the stories of some Buddha or some great person, these are all exceptions who are there for teaching purpose. But enlightenment is not an exception. Enlightenment is a simple process. At some point of time, in many parts of India, there are great enlightened beings, ordinary beings. In Karnataka, there was an enlightenment revolution which spread across Karnataka back in, I think, 14th century, Basavanna. So, teaching of enlightenment became so prevalent that the shoemaker, right, what you call as Chamar, he becomes enlightened. Then a washerman becomes enlightened. Then a housewife becomes enlightened. Kumbara. So, the ordinary people become enlightened. There is a revolution which spread through many parts of Karnataka. But we hear of some Buddha, Ramana Maharshi, some exceptions. Whereas the enlightenment, process of enlightenment is a very natural and simple process which can spread like fire in many parts of India at some point of time. So don't have what I'm saying is a conception of enlightenment. This is how it should be. The enlightenment is something inner process, simple process. Now when say somebody says I got enlightened, okay, he felt peaceful probably. Okay. Now it may appear to us like an accident, but the inner maturity has taken many lifetimes. It has happened. So it's like this: a mango is ripe. Okay. Then a crow comes and sits on the tree. Suddenly mango drops. Now can you say that because crow is sitting on the tree, mango dropped? The mango has become ripe already. Similarly, what happens is that at some incident in life, somebody's life, may trigger enlightenment. It doesn't mean that that incident caused enlightenment. There is a maturity which has happened already. So that part, inner growth part, we don't see. We see one external event and say, "Oh, this happened to this person." Does it answer the question?
Yeah, that means it must be happening continuously. So
Yes.
ultimately, everyone will get enlightened in infinite time. Right?
Yes.
That is a process which we are all going towards.
Ultimately, everybody is moving towards
Enlightenment.
that higher level of awareness, higher degree of consciousness. That's why we say, Asato Ma Sadgamaya, from darkness to light, from death to deathlessness. The life is a continuous flow towards that. Each person is in different stage of evolution. Okay, when I say not a person as a body, person is the mind and consciousness which moves from one body to another body. So it is at a certain level of evolution, depending on the maturity at a certain level, that happens.
Is there a possibility to get degraded from
Okay, let me ask the question. Somebody goes to a college. Is it a possibility to degrade it to private school after it? See, the enlightenment process is a maturity, inner maturity. Okay.
even if you haven't reached the enlightenment before that, is there a possibility?
No, if he's a, there is a two way of living for us. One is conscious and unconscious. Okay. So in an unconscious process of living, there's always a possibility of fallback. In a conscious way of living, there's no fallback possible. Okay. Let me give you an example. Okay. So somebody has, let's say, just give you an example. Somebody has a diabetes. Okay. He keep on eating sugar without knowing that diabetes, sugar has an implication on diabetes. Right? The disease will become worse. But One day, the doctor tells him the effect of sugar on diabetes very clearly and tells him that you will die if you eat like this or your body will deteriorate. Then from that day onwards also, he may eat sugar, but he will eat very carefully, consciously. What is the difference between early eating and now eating? It's a consciousness. That's a learning. So what happens is that fallback happens when there's unconscious, when there's like no clarity. When there's a clarity, the fallback chances are less. Even though he may still get tempted to eat some sugar. Okay. When his wife is not there, he may eat jalebi. Okay, right? But still, every time he does, there's a consciousness. So, in a conscious way of living, the chances of fallback is less. In an unconscious way of living, the chances of fallback is 100%. Okay. So, most of the people have an unconscious living. That's why the maturity takes a long time. And that's where the spiritual masters come to picture. The process of evolution is given a conscious evolution path based on the spiritual teachings. Otherwise, till that point of time, evolution is unconscious. So all of us know that the life form is continuously evolving from bacteria to amoeba to the plants to birds, reptiles, mammals, monkey, human being. The evolution is there. Definitely there is evolution, definitely there is more maturity. But that evolution is mechanical in nature, unconscious. So what is mechanical unconscious takes a long time. But for the first time in human life, human beings, the evolution can be conscious. If there's a proper understanding there, evolution can be conscious. So that is the opportunity in human life. Now, people who don't have that opportunity will still go through human life many lifetimes unconsciously until they get a point of time, the conscious understanding of life. Is that it?
So can there be unsupervised learning?
Yeah.
Or it's always a guru is required to teach?
No. Unsupervised learning, nature is learning unsupervised only.
Yeah.
Okay, it's unconscious learning. It's a mechanical process. So there is a guru in that. Okay, how does something learn in nature? Your dog is there. Does it have intelligence? It knows exactly how to shout at you, how to cajole you, how to make love to you. Where does it come from? That intelligence comes from survival instincts. Everywhere there's a pressure on us comes in the terms of survival instincts. All of our learning is based on survival instincts. When you join your job, you have to survive in the job. Right? There is peer pressure, there's a competitive pressure, there's a business pressure. You learn. Okay? When the animal is in the forest, there is learning. If there's no learning, the animal will die. So the learning happens because of circumstantial pressures. That's called survival of the fittest. And this is what is called evolution. Okay? Now, every time it's by trial and error. Right? But in your life, some things you learn but not without trial and error. What is that? Cooking. Your mother taught you the cooking. Okay? Or after marriage, husband taught you the cooking, but somebody taught you the cooking. So you didn't go through trial and error. How much every time try, put some salt, does it work or not? A cooking happened because of a teaching somebody gave to you. You learned engineering not by trial and error. If you learned engineering by trial and error, you would have started from Newton. Okay? You learned cycling not by trial and error. Some friend helped you. So, when there is a help and intervention from somebody who knows, the learning curve comes from drastically. Right? That's the principle of life. That principle of life you see in business, that principle of life you see in marriage, that principle of life you see everywhere. The same principle applies in spirituality also. When there is an intervention or teaching from a person who is wise or learned, your learning curve comes from drastically.
Um, this is related to the question this gentleman asked and
Mhm.
Mr. Pratap asked.
Mhm.
Um, can enlightenment happen by accident? Was the question Pratap asked.
Mhm.
Can enlightenment or enlightened person can fall back?
Mhm.
There is a saying, there's a speech that Vivekananda gave,
Mhm.
and he said in that, I'm just quoting what he
Yeah.
said. I'm not saying
Mhm.
yes or no on that. In spiritual process, people can go through a process and then get enlightened.
Mhm.
For some people, it can also happen by accident.
Mhm.
And what he said is, when it happens by accident for some people, their background still persists.
Mhm.
And after they come out of that, they still go through the daily attached life. He didn't specifically mention a person, but with the quote, I assume it is Muhammad, what he was referring to. That he, after he had the experience, he went and fought wars and things.
Okay.
That was not a peaceful person. So
I'll explain that. Okay. See, please understand that India is the only country which established a process and systematic teaching for enlightenment. Everywhere else, by and large, it has been an accident. Okay. So when, as I told you, when it happens an accident, there is no framework, cultural framework, uh, to understand what is this about. Okay. So it's an unconscious process. For example, the moments of enlightenment is not as rare as you think. When the mind becomes completely silent, in some reason, some point, that's a moment of glimpse of enlightenment. To give an example, you look at a mountain, magnificent nature, suddenly mind drops momentarily. Okay, that's a moment of enlightenment. But please understand, that's not what you gained, but that's what nature gave it to you as a gift for a moment. Okay, got it? So what is given to you for a moment, unless you have a framework to retain it, it is not long lasting. Now, when I speak of some people in India, like Ramana Maharshi, had an enlightenment experience. It appears to be excellent for others. There's a lifelong or many lifetimes of yogic sadhana which has gone through a process and that happened culminating in that moment. Okay. When somebody can fall back, when I told you, when the example which you gave, I don't want to take the name, that is not a part and culmination of some effort, but it's a part of the process in between somewhere. There was a glimpse and fallback. The glimpse of enlightenment is common to many people. We may not recognize it, but it is there. When I speak of the enlightened vision, enlightenment, like what happened to Buddha, they are all very, very conscious process. There's no fallback possible because it's a result of conscious process. So then I say there are two processes. One is unconscious and conscious. In unconsciousness, there's a glimpses possible. Many of you who do practice meditation, oh, I was in altogether bliss. Then I'll have to come back to my household course. I have to go to office. Okay, so I had a glimpse of that bliss. Now that's not permanent or long lasting because the framework which you operate is still unconscious. Okay, so when Vivekananda says about the person or the situation, there was an unconscious moment of opening where the reversion happens. When I speak of the enlightenment, it's always a process of conscious evolution. Does it answer your question?
No, I was just quoting.
Yeah. No, in that case, specific case, yes, it was an unconscious this thing because whatever subsequently happened was not a healthy situation.
And also there was another neuroscientist. He was exploring the physiological aspect of enlightenment. He thinks that in certain portion of the brain that is responsible for
Yeah.
um, associating yourself or identifying yourself as a separate entity,
Right.
when that portion is silent,
Yeah.
you can feel that.
Right. So that is a different thing. There is a lady. There's a there's a lady doctor. She was studying neurology. She is a neurologist. Suddenly one day she started feeling total connectedness to the universe. Everything is flowing in and out of her. This is typical case of enlightened experience. Okay, then she went through this for almost 5-6 years. She was feeling totally connected with the universe, what we call as God experience.
Do you know the name of that person?
I forgot the name. She came in TED actually, TED Talks.
Okay.
Okay, you can find the TED Talks. So that lady, then she went through a neurosurgery. Okay, what was found was that there was a tumor in her some part of the brain, and when the tumor was removed, she lost that feeling of connectedness. It was her own personal experience. Now, what has happened here is that with some growth in the brain, we are feeling a higher vision. When the growth is removed, the vision is gone. So we attribute this experience to a brain, whereas in reality, it is your consciousness or mind which uses the brain. So in her case, it actually happened as an accident, whereas in the case of yogis, because the mind or consciousness use the brain, that vision gets cultivated and there's no fallback. The brain is just an instrument, not the cause of the experience.
But brain is the roadblock.
Brain is the instrument. Okay, now the instrument, brain is the instrument. Brain has some maps of the world. Brain understands the world in a certain way. So now the perception of the world has to change depending on your understanding. So the instrument definitely has to undergo changes. Whether enlightenment has a physical basis, physiological basis, enlightenment has a physiological basis, but physiological basis is not the cause, it's the symptom, it's the effect. The meditation changes the brain. Okay, change of brain is not meditation. So whenever
the change of brain is what is required finally, whether it's through meditation or through surgery.
Yeah.
If the end result is enlightenment, then does it matter if it is done through meditation or?
See, the thing is, there was a point of time in many parts of the world to get enlightenment experience. The people used to take drugs, what they call LSD, some drugs, which affects the brain nervous system, which gives some kick. Okay, experience. Then they come back. After they come back, there's a lot of depression. See, what happens is that when you do anything at the symptom level, not at the cause, the effect is not long lasting. For example, somebody has a cancer. The cancer can be treated through a painkiller. Cancer can be treated through a surgery. Cancer can be treated through radiology. Okay. Ultimately, you need to go to the root of the cancer and treat it. Otherwise, any surface level symptoms will be not long lasting or temporary. Repairing the brain for enlightenment, change the brain for enlightenment, either through drugs or some treatment, is treating the symptom. The mind is not yet changed fully. So the deepest level of mind, the change has to happen. That's what is really the maturity.
You know, when they talk about the mind, when you talk about the mind, the 4 parts of the mind, chitta, buddhi, manas and ahankara.
Correct.
Maybe the manas is the one, because ahankara, when it is gone.
Yeah. Ahankara is the deepest sense of root of ignorance. Now that is the root which has to be treated. That is the cancer. Now you can treat at the mind level, manas level, buddhi level, chitta level. Okay, for example, there's a lot of chitta level treatment takes place. For example, what they call a hypnotic process, self-hypnosis, regression, auto-suggestion, they all happen at the chitta level or manas level. Okay, buddhi level also, a lot of people have a lot of understanding, right? Who doesn't have understanding of spirituality in India? Okay. Oh, this is my karma, yeah. Okay. Hey, Paramatma, yeah. So that understanding is there at buddhi level somewhere. But what has not happened at the ahankara level? Say, root of that is ahankara. Even you change the perception, the deepest seed has to burn out. That requires a conscious effort. So
what triggers that process?
what triggers
the enlightenment or even awareness process? Because I see people at very young age, some people are very much into it. Some people in the middle age when there's crisis. Some people in the old age when there's nothing else to do.
Right.
What I mean, it depends on what stage they are, but what exactly triggers?
Now, see, the thing is, if you look at a human being as a window of 70 years, then it will not make any sense out of it. Okay? Human being, if you look at it as a continuity of several lifetimes, lifetimes of learning is what you carry in this life. Somebody has learnt much deeper earlier, will start at young age. Somebody has yet to learn, will start at middle age. Somebody has to learn, yet to learn, will start in the next life. So you should not look at a human life as a window of 70 years. You should look at a human life as spreading backwards. So there is different learning. So for example, for me, no teaching was required. These things are very, in my surroundings there were not much of availability. But I was just able to pick up, understand very clearly. There's no drastic input is required. Right? Whereas some people are there, they need input. So gradually I understood, okay, so these are some of the things I have learned in my past life. These are the things I have already covered. So this is the new portion. Like that, life is a continuity. Life is not as just a window of 70 years. So we should look at a life as please understand this concept of life as a small window of 70 years is only concept of certain religions. It's not no basis. There are a lot of studies which are done, hypno-regression, the past life theory. Many places people have found the life continuity for several lifetimes. One of my classes in Pune, a lady brought a child, 2-year-old child. The lady said the child had started speaking. Then they were going through the streets of Pune. The child said, just she was talking, learn to talk. I died here. Please stop here. Okay, I died in my lorry went on my head. I died here. She was really horrified. A child is speaking of death, just 2-year-old child. Then she inquired nearby. They said, a couple of years back, a person who was going in cycle died there with his head, the lorry going on her head. After some time, she avoided that street and going in some other street, residential area. And this child said, stop here. My wife is there in that house. Okay, these are a 2.5-year-old child. So there is a memory. Okay. Now, after some time, that child will forget. Right? And there are many research done on the past life. Okay, with the reputed psychiatrists. So there's a lot of work done. But then some people believe that this life is only window of opportunity for doing the damage or success. That's a different life. But that's not in tune with the reality of nature.
But it doesn't seem that it's linear in the sense that the acceleration part is not really linear. It is, for example, wherever you left off, you may not start right away at birth. It could be after, say.
See, that's where anything what is not conscious is always there's a fallback. Okay. When there is a conscious and there is a systematic method, there's no fallback. You start at a point where you stop. Okay. What happens is unconscious and conscious. I want to distinguish. Osho was saying. Osho actually, after he was born, he didn't take the milk of mother for 11 days. The child didn't touch the milk. Then somebody asked him why he didn't do. He said, I was a monk, Buddhist monk, practicing 21 days of fasting. I died on the 10th day. I had to complete that 11 days of fasting when I was born. So there is a conscious process. Whereas, please understand, bulk of the population in the world, bulk, significant portion, doesn't go through a conscious process, unconscious process, right? So, okay, let me give you an example. Many of you work in corporates. Okay, you have file release in the office. Do you have file release? Let's say alarm will go and you have to go through the staircase to get out of office. Once you do fire drills periodically. Why? It's a conscious way that how, if fire happens, how do you react? Now imagine that training is not there. You're all well educated, working office. The fire happens. Everybody is panicking. They don't know what to do. So there is always a learning mechanism, a conscious process by which you don't fall back. So when you say non-linear, because there's a lot of unconsciousness embedded in that. Okay.
So what happens after enlightenment?
So what happens of enlightenment is your vision of the world, the way you look at the world will be different. So the same question somebody asked Buddha, what happened to you after enlightenment? So first thing is the Buddha, I'll tell the words of Buddha, okay? I suffered many lifetimes. Okay. Many lifetimes I suffered. I'm repeating the words of Buddha. I don't know how many lifetimes. Buddha was able to recollect only 500 lifetimes of him. Okay, so if that's the case of Buddha, I suffered many lifetimes. That's called Jataka case of Buddha. There's about 500 lifetimes he can recollect. So he says, I suffered many lifetimes. In many lifetimes, I didn't know why I'm suffering. I suffered. So then I started getting gradually this thing. I understood that I'm suffering because of other people. So like that I suffered many lifetimes. Then also my suffering didn't go. So then after some time I started feeling that God is the cause of my suffering. Suffering might still continued. Okay. The suffering didn't drop. Like that many lifetimes have gone. Okay. Many lifetimes passed away. And in those suffering, the tears which came to my eyes were sufficient to fill the river Ganges. And number of lifetimes I spent like that, if you stack my backbones in those many lifetimes, it would have been greater than the Himalayas. So many lifetimes I've gone through. So many lifetimes I've gone through, so many lifetimes of suffering I have done. Tears in my eyes would have filled a Ganga. That means so much of life is giving an example of lifetimes. Now gradually I realized that cause of my suffering is nobody but my own self. Okay, I am the cause of my suffering. My ignorance is the cause of suffering. Okay, at this moment I drop my ignorance. I am peaceful. Okay, I am back home. I attain the serenity, tranquility, which is my own home. This is the state. You feel deep serenity. You feel that you are back home, and nothing more to go, nothing more to strive for. No more suffering. Please understand there's a difference between suffering and pain. Okay, pain is physiological. Pain is psychological. You fall and break your leg, it's a pain, physical. Somebody calls you a monkey or donkey, or somebody ditches you, then the psychological pain. Now, for enlightened being also, psychological and physiological pain will be there because they have body and mind. But the suffering will not be there. The suffering is physiological, psychological pain, it's momentary, converted into lifelong impression. You call me monkey, I get hurt. But every time I see your face, I feel hurt, monkey. Okay, that's suffering. So enlightened being goes through pain but not suffering. The suffering stops. This is first thing. The tranquility is there, peace is there. Second thing is that what happens is there is a love and compassion blooms. Before that, there's an attachment. Now there's a compassion, love. Love is feeling connected to everything in the universe. Okay. Earlier, there was love, limited love. You also have love. You have love for your child, you have love for your husband, love for your family, love for your job. But that's called love for my something. It's related to me. But unconditional love blooms within because you are feeling connected to everything. And third thing happens is the wisdom blooms, the clarity. Okay. At the time of enlightenment, Buddha also realized something. So Buddha realized that everything in the nature is temporary in nature. Temporary. When he says nature, it's not just physical. His mind becomes so sharp and deeply silent. He was able to observe deep within nature. He was able to go to the molecules, atoms, and microscopic level in the body. The mind becomes so sharp so that he was able to observe internally what's happening in the body mind complex. It didn't require a microscope. So he then realized that body, everything in nature is like atoms, flashing, coming, going, momentary. Okay, it's like a packets of energy. So everything is transient, nothing is permanent. So then he realized, oh, everything is transient, everything is transient. So if everything is transient, then there's no point in holding on to something. Okay, because whatever you hold on, it will slip anyway. So my problem is I'm holding on to something which is unrealistic. So let me learn how to drop it. That's what he realized. Now the same thing scientists also realized. Early part of 20th century. With a huge electron microscope or that CERN particle bombardment or something, they realized that matter is nothing but packets of energy. Okay, but none of them became peaceful. Understood? They also understood this. This also understood that 2,500 years back, without any microscope, without any sophisticated equipment, he understood the same principle, but he became peaceful. Okay, whereas these people also understood with a very sophisticated $1 billion research, billions of dollars research, and multiple scientists working there. No, this nothing but molecules, but they didn't become peaceful. Why? They observed the phenomena at the surface level, symptom level. This person observed the phenomena at the cause level. The cause is my ignorance. So once suddenly that happens, you are treating the cancer or disease at the root. He became peaceful. Now the people also discovered that subatomic particles and all, they created a nuclear bomb. Millions of people were killed. The same person who also discovered that atoms and molecules at the earliest stage of life, maybe 2,500 years before Christ, he spread the message of peace. Even after 2,500 years, his peace radiations will spread in the world. Somebody will be, oh, Buddha means peace. So same principle, two people learning at a different level. Somebody learned at the source, somebody learned at the symptom level. The effects are very different. So the third thing which happens to enlightenment is lot of clarity and wisdom. Not clarity that Buddha is not clarity in the sense Buddha learns how to fly an aircraft. Not that he'll ride a Mercedes Benz and gets into driver's seat and drive a Mercedes Benz. That can happen only in movies. Enlightenment he can do so many things. It's not about skill. It's about the deeper understanding of life opens up. Okay. So in that sense, he understands everybody, not in the specifics, but in the generics. To give an example, if you go to an automotive mechanic, he has repaired one car, let's say Ford car. Here, if 10 Ford car comes, he knows how to repair because he understood the mechanics of one car. So this person, Buddha or enlightened being, has learned the mechanics of one car called his body mind complex. Now he understands every other body mind complex. By and large, they're structurally same. In that sense, he understands everything. Not in the sense of, oh, there's an X-ray vision like Superman. This life happening or this life like that. It doesn't happen that way. These are all mythological stories. He understands the human nature at the deepest level because he has gone through that. Okay. The fourth thing happens is that then people ask Buddha, what happened after enlightenment? He said, I realize that the whole world is enlightened with me. Then what happens is that we project our experiences on somebody. If I am stupid, I call everybody else stupid. If I am a thief, I look everybody as a thief. If I am enlightened, I see everybody as enlightened. Your vision changes. So, any questions? Otherwise, we can start meditation for half an hour.
Prabhuji, one
Yeah.
question. even though this is a very conscious process, how much of it is really in our control, especially because we continue to, bear the burden of our own cross. So should we just let it happen with that consciousness, or can we like speed in this process?
See, all of us have our own karmic baggage where we are. But that's what has brought us to this point. Okay, that's what we call destiny. Destiny is not about future. Destiny is what you are today. Okay, because what you are today has been a result of so many steps which are taken in the past. You don't know what steps are there. Some of them are unconscious, has brought you here. But at this juncture, at this today, you have the ability to change your direction. It may be a small step. Okay, one small step a day, right, goes a long way. So do small corrections. You start moving in a new direction, right? Can you climb Himalayas? Climbing Himalayas is just 20,000 steps. If you think of 20,000 steps you climb one day, it won't happen. If you understand that 20,000 steps, hardly it is not big. So life, you don't think of too big goal. Every day morning, do one step. Soon you are closer and in a conscious journey. Our unconsciousness cannot bind us. We can come out of the unconscious. That's what that Easter egg is about. The egg will have to break and chicken will have to come out. That's what research is about. All of us have the ability to break that shell. One step a day. Don't be too ambitious. Okay? Okay, let us meditate for some time. Sit comfortably with your hands in meditative posture, or cross your hands on your thighs. Take a couple of deep, slow breaths. Breathe in, breathe out. Let us chant Omkara a couple of times. When you chant Omkara, your energy moves from navel, that stomach region, into the chest, into the forehead, and into the top of the head, into the universe. So there's an upward movement of energy when you chant Omkara through vibrations in the body. Become aware of the vibrations in the body as they move from stomach all the way up to the head. Just silently become aware of deep peace. Be aware of the energy at your forehead. Asato ma Sadgamaya Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let there be peace throughout the universe. Let all living beings in land, sea, forest, and sky have peace. Lokaha samastah Sukhino bhavantu. Lokaha samastah Sukhino bhavantu. Lokaha samastah Sukhino bhavantu. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Open your eyes. On this occasion of Easter, we contemplate on the spiritual significance, spiritual meaning of the resurrection, the Easter eggs, and also see how we can relate it to yogic philosophy, yogic understanding. Let us take these vibrations on this auspicious day. Let us see how we can build the kingdom of God within our heart. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we do have prasad. Anybody has. Rice is getting done, so maybe another 5 to 10 more minutes.
So-
Sorry? It should be done. It's done. It's done? Okay. So weekend is sick, so Christine has come all the way.
Oh my
She met with a minor car accident.
Oh, shit.
I had a minor car accident.
So that is why she's.
No.
Okay, you are able to drive that car back or you
The
came?
car's here. The car's, it's just a minor. But
Thank God.
I would have been. I'm sorry. I wish I
No.
could. No, we're so
Yes,
glad.
sir. Glad you are there.
Very happy you're here, Christine.